Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast today. These podcasts are brought to you in part by our sponsors, who really truly are what make these podcasts possible every week. O'Fallon Nutrition is a company that I've worked with for over 15 years. They're independently owned and operated, located here in O'Fallon, Missouri, right off of Highway K and Mexico Road. I call this place the Whole Foods of St. Charles County, but even if you are not located on this side of the river, it is still worth the drive. I can remember working all the way down at Powerhouse and still sending people out to O'Fallon Nutrition for their supplements. They are more than a supplement company. You can get grass-fed beef, salad dressing, seasoning for your cooking, hair care products, makeup, deodorant, toothpaste, essential oils, and all the vitamins and minerals that you can think of. If you're looking for clean, whole food nutrition, as well as home care, house care, skincare products, O'Fallon Nutrition is your place. You can take a look at them at o'fallonnutrition.com, or if you'd like to have something shipped, if you're listening to me from outside of St. Louis, you can certainly have items shipped. I know they do free shipping if it's an order over $50, and the phone number is 636-240-5283. Again, it's o'fallonnutrition.com. Everyone always asks me where I get my meat from, and given that I really eat meat on a daily basis, typically beef primarily, my meat is very important to me. I have an autoimmune condition and I want grain-free, corn-free meat, and I just haven't found the confidence in stores in knowing that I'm getting 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And I have searched and searched and searched for the right farm, and I have found the farm. It's fedfromthefarm.com, fed, F-E-D, from thefarm.com. These farmers are amazing. It's a family. They're here in Missouri, and they have the desire, just like I do, to see people well and to see people healthy, and they put a lot into what they do. It's such a wonderful family to support. They do offer 100% grass-finished, grass-fed, meaning that's it. A beef, and I get my ribeyes, I get, my ground beef, my ground sirloin, I get my chuck roast. I mean, they basically have everything. They even have awesome jerky, but they also have eggs, they have chickens, and they have turkey. I'm planning on getting a turkey for Thanksgiving, and if you'd like lamb, they have that as well. But if you are in need of good quality grass-fed, grass-finished beef, or quality eggs, chicken, turkey, don't just settle for what you're getting at the local store. To go out on the internet and check out Fed from the Farm. That you can arrange a pickup, or you can have it delivered to your home. And I can guarantee you're going to taste the difference. For me, my health actually depends on it. So I really thank God to have found such a great farmer. Fedfromthefarm.com. I hope it blesses you.
Welcome to Faith, Fuel, and Fitness, the Integrity Way, with your hosts, John and Debbie Morris from Integrity Training Systems.
Hey everybody, this is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. If you've never joined us before, we like to call our show the Warrior Show because we like to explain that you are capable of being a warrior, and a warrior is a brave or experienced soldier or fighter, which means you do not have to be brave and you do not have to be a soldier. You can be an experienced fighter to call yourself a warrior. All that means is that you fought your way through something in your life that was difficult and you overcame it, which means that you have experience and you are a fighter. Welcome to being a warrior. What does it mean to be a warrior? Well, a warrior is someone who has a mindset of not giving up. Whatever's thrown at them, whatever they have to go through on a daily basis, they are willing to fight through it. And it doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, and it for sure doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It just means you have the willingness to do it. And, recently we've just had some different things going on in our lives, and I had an interesting conversation with my dad yesterday, actually, and we're getting ready to go to court on some things with some custody situations. And, he said, well, what do you do if this part doesn't go the way you would anticipate it going or the way you want it to go? Because we do live in a world that, this is a decision to be made by a courtroom. And although it may make sense outside of court, it might not go that direction. And I thought about it for a second. And I was like, will you do what you would do whether that happened or not? You never give up. If you actually believe in what you're looking to accomplish, you never give up. If you feel led by God to overcome something, led by God to take something on, and it truly feels in your heart like the right thing to do, just because something doesn't go your way doesn't mean you quit. It doesn't mean you're like, well, okay, I guess that is how it is. Not if you really believe in it. And what I find is societally, I see a lot of that, like giving up. Or it's this immediate rage that goes into like an emotional attack that isn't going to solve anything either. And ultimately, that's another form of giving up, because now you've lost the credibility of the conversation or the side of the argument that you're trying to have. And so what I want to tell you is, I know that every single one of you listening is going through something. And the reason we don't like to complain about the things we're going through is because you are as well. And some people are like, wow, you're on the radio, you got stuff figured out. I hear you talk about it. I get that. People are like, man, I wish I had your mindset. And I'm like, shoot. Like sometimes I wish I had the mindset too. And talking about it, praise God, actually assists me as well. But whatever you've got going on, whatever you're facing right now, and you're like, man, I think this is it. My men's group this last weekend was on endurance. And I had come up with a plan of what I wanted to talk about. And at about 1:45 on Saturday morning, my men's group being at 2 p.m. Saturday afternoon, I felt God talk to me, and he's like, none of that is going to be what you talk about today.
1:45 a.m.
Yeah.
You were still awake, and he said you're changing it.
He did.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, it's about endurance today then, and I'm like, it was hilarious because I am not a pastor, okay? I am just a broken person that God redeemed that wants to help other dudes get redeemed. So the first 3 minutes of my start of my Bible study with these guys, it's recorded and in our private men's group on Facebook, was me looking for the chapter that I had my first verse in, because I had marked all of my Bible verses, and I apparently didn't mark the first one. I was tired when I was doing, setting all this up, and I said that, and they kind of laughed. And finally, I was like, okay, someone tell me where this book of the Bible is, because I'm flipping through this thing, and it keeps pulling open to my marked pages, so I can't even flip it like a normal book where you pretend to know where you're going. Someone give it to me. So everybody starts laughing, and they're like, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. I'm like, okay, I remember those. And they fire off 2 more. I'm like, all right, I got it. And so we all kind of laughed about it. But I'll tell you, like, I started to get a little embarrassed. Like, man, what are you doing sitting up here? Talking to these guys, and you can't even find it. And I had to come to this place in my heart and my mind where I'm like, John, you are not a preacher. Like, this is not what you do, but you're fighting for what you believe in. You showed up today. You showed up as prepared as possible. And you know what? A lot of these guys came to me and they're like, that's what I needed to hear today. So what I need you to hear today is, if you feel underprepared, under-equipped, like you're incapable of fighting this battle that's out in front of you, you're wrong. If you place your faith in God and you move forward, Bible says faith without works is dead. Well, it doesn't mean that your works are what gets you into heaven. What it means is show God you have faith that he will pull you through something by showing up. That's the work. Get there. I tell people in the gym all day long, like, the hardest step of the gym is the one through the front door, because you can't even do a movement or work out if you stay at home. So get yourself in there and accomplish something. It is literally true for every aspect of your life. If you want to get to somewhere different than where you are, you have got to quit being comfortable in your discomfort and realize it is worth stepping out of your comfort zone, attacking this thing that's in front of you like a looming giant, and getting to where you actually want to be in life.
I think there's multiple ways of viewing the difficulty. Like, you can say, okay, this is such a complicated situation that I'm just going to go ahead and give up. Like, I'm throwing in the towel. I've messed up too many times. Too many bad hands have been given to me. I can't do it anymore. Okay, so you quit. So then what? I mean, how hard does it become after you quit? Like, how complicated is life after you quit? How bad do you feel because you quit? How much shame do you have? How much, like, do you have to forgive yourself? Do other people have to forgive you? I mean, does it become like a harder situation than what the situation is? And I've always thought as an entrepreneur that I would die trying. Like, I would die trying to run a business because I would rather do that than just quit, because the business is rooted in godly principles. The business is rooted in a vision that truly came from God. So I'd be dying trying for an incredible mission. I'd be serving God all the way to the end. Whatever it is that you're working super hard on, like I would always say to clients, like, you can suffer the pain of discipline or you can suffer the pain of regret. Like, this would be closed door discussions. Like, it's completely up to you. Which one are you most comfortable suffering in? Because, there's going to be difficulty in both areas. Difficulty in preparing your food, difficulty in finding the time, difficulty in going to parties and having to not partake, difficulty in having people say, why can't you just have one drink? There's going to be all these different layers of difficulty when you're trying to be a very disciplined person, right? When you're trying to build something, when you're trying to achieve a goal, when you're trying to improve a relationship, when you're trying to improve your financial situation, there's going to be so much difficulty. But like, what's the surrender difficulty? When you surrender to defeat and you surrender to formally quitting, what are those difficulties? So you just got to look at both sides of the coin. Like, you really have to make it a priority to say, what does this look like after I quit? I mean, and from a business perspective, I've never been willing to see what the other side of the coin is. I went to another bank and asked for another loan. I would go to a client and ask for a loan. 12 years ago, I whipped out the Discover card and used the Discover card to keep our business in business. There's so many twists and turns and all sorts of things that go on. But what would happen if I gave up? All the people in that building would not get the help that they need. Right. The lives would not have changed. The health of those people would not change. A single mom would not have a job. 2 single moms would not have a job. A family would not have income. So many of my trainers and all my employees, they would not have jobs, and jobs that have sincere meaning for them. So I would go to bed at night and I would say, Lord, I know you are my provider. Okay. You are my healer. You are in control. All of this is for you. And if this is my last day on earth, I'm totally content with the fact that I'm going to handle the amount of pain, difficulty, challenge, and stress that I'm handling, because I would choose to carry that weight from you, Lord, than carry a weight that I gave up on, carry a weight that I just turned the other cheek to and just said, I can't do it anymore. I'd rather carry your weight, Lord, the heaviness of it, than carry the weight of weakness and the weight of someone who just can't persevere and someone who just isn't willing to hang on. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems with a 6-month nutrition program with myself or a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. Just got done with the first segment talking to you about what it meant to be a warrior, and I want to continue a little bit in talking about what's out ahead of you. the Bible is pretty clear on anxiety. And this is something I struggle with. And honestly, I've been talking to people about this lately. I think our world is riddled with anxiety right now. Like, I mean, people are just being slammed on medication for it. They're being given Xanax for short term. They're being given other things for long term. And the reality is our world is tough right now. And so everybody has all this anxiety that they're trying to take medications for. But if you go into the Bible is pretty clear. If you look at Matthew 6:34, it says, "Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." And so what God is doing is he's calling us to trust him one day at a time. And if you're anything like me, what you like to do is think about a potential tomorrow that will more likely than not exist. And what do I mean by that? Well, you loop on it. You loop on, what if she says this? What if he does that? What if I end up here? What if this occurs? And you have laid out a map of a million different things that can happen. And what's wild is one of them might, but it also might be none of them. You might actually be fabricating a scenario in your mind that will never come to fruition. And that's a lot of energy expended. It's exhausting. And I can tell you that from experience. I had a counselor at one point in time years ago, and he called it looping. It's when you just loop on the same idea or the same problem over and over and over and over, and it exhausts your mind and your spirit and ultimately can defeat you when there's not even really a battle involved. So to your point, Deb, like from the first segment, you might actually be fighting something that's harder than what it is you need to actually be fighting. And, you know, there's another part of the Bible, Matthew 6:33, but seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. So basically what that's saying is, if you put God first, all of the things you're struggling with, you'll be assisted on. But nobody does that. The only time we go to God is a lot of times when we're in crisis, and it's this like, I'm drowning, help me pull myself out of here, versus actually giving the issue to God before we get there. Philippians 4:6-7, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Peter 5:7, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Okay, and so, I mean, Lamentations 3:22, let's just finish it out. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. They are new every morning, great is your faithfulness. So what this is all saying is if you're faithful and you give all of these things to God, you are capable of having a peace that surpasses understanding and allows you to wake up the following day ready to take on something new. But if you spend your time looping on an issue or a situation that is outside of your control today, it will ruin today. And you can only ruin so many todays until you don't have another one. People are like, well, there's always tomorrow, right? Like, I'll take care of that tomorrow. Or maybe they're just like, well, what's going to happen tomorrow? And they're so freaked out by that they lose all of their todays and then they're gone. And I'm not telling you to not prepare. There's a difference. I'm not telling you to not be prepared for the future. I'm not telling you to not plan. I'm telling you, when you loop consistently on something that cannot be handled or something you should do and you're choosing not to, and you create a state of anxiety and you don't give it to God, you're actually setting yourself up to be stuck in that consistent issue of anxiety.
There's a book, and I don't know the inner workings of this book. So please, for all of the Christian warriors out there, please don't email me later and tell me I'm not a Christian because I read this book. I've read it like 20 years ago, but I just want to read these parts of it. It's called The Four Agreements. And the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. It says, speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using words to speak against yourself or gossip about others. Use the power of your word to offer love. Never use it to cause fear or pain in another. Here's the big one. Don't take anything personally. The second agreement. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a result of their own dream or perception of their rules. We all make rules about how things should be. But when you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering.
That's good.
This is a very important one. Agreement number 3, don't make assumptions. I've seen relationships end because of this. I've seen businesses fail because of this. I've seen salvation lost because of this. Don't make assumptions. Find the quiet courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstanding, sadness, and drama. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. And then the final agreement, always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick. Under any circumstance, simply do your best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. Now, kind of what I'm trying to get at is the don't take anything personally and the don't make assumptions. If we lead the way with those, if our character leads the way with those, foundation is in Jesus and rooted in Jesus, how many things do we avoid in our life? How many issues? How much drama? How much anxiety do we avoid in our life? In business, I've always had to tell myself, I have to be anticipating what someone's going to do. I got to be ahead of them, okay, before they do it. But I also can't make a negative assumption. I have to assume they are honest. I have to assume they are pure. I have to assume they're not guilty until proven guilty, right? I've got to give them a chance in my own mind, because if I create a whole case against them, yes, I'm stepping ahead, figuring out who I'm hiring and how I'm replacing and what I'm doing. But if I build a whole entire case against them, then how fair is that? How fair is that when I can finally meet with them and I can finally help them? Also, how much anxiety am I taking on?
Yeah, you're also going to go into that meeting completely biased and
Right.
incapable of unwiring the garbage you've put in your mind.
Exactly, because your mind leads the way. You've created the atmosphere, you've created the environment in which your life is continuing in, all through your mind. So making the assumptions and not taking things personal. Whenever I see someone gossip about me, now, I mean, in my 20s, did not see it this way. Now I see someone gossip me, I immediately see weakness in them.
Yeah.
I see insecurity in
Their
them.
situation.
I see their weakness, and it doesn't bother me. And I, in fact, pray for them and hope for the best for them, because that's what the Bible says to do. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems with a 6-month nutrition program with myself, or a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. In the last segment, Debbie, you were talking about just kind of assumptions of negative intent. And I know when we started our business together, something that I would do is I would just have these problems where when you would send me messages, sometimes I would read them as if I had failed on something. You know, you would simply be asking me a question where you might say, hey, do you have that report? Because I didn't have the report done, I could be in a place where I'm like, oh my gosh, she's judging me for not doing this report.
I would always be like standing there like,
And the reality is she needs the report to do her next thing. And it's not even an imminent situation.
It's not funny, but I would just be like sitting there like, I don't even know what I just said wrong.
It is actually funny, because this is what I'm getting to is I saw a counselor at one point in time, and I saw him around the same time for PTSD and things for my brain back before we had my traumatic brain injuries analyzed by the Amen Clinic. And he said, John, what you have to do is a lot of people read things. They even interpret in person, but for sure read things through a positive or a negative lens. And he goes, where you're at in your life and where you are at for that day will determine what lens you're wearing. He goes, but the thing is, sometimes the message is not positive, but it is also not negative. It's just information. It's just data. And he goes, so people have gotten to this place where, depending upon where their position is in life, which a lot of times is negative, as we talked about in the first segment, all the negativity going on in the world right now, they will receive this information, they will feel judged by it, or their insecurity lashes out, like Debbie said last segment, where they're like, I did blah, blah, and it's like this defense mode, right? And so the reality is, if we break down the data, using that as an example, Debbie comes to me and says, John, did you get this document finished? Or she messages that. And I read it as, John, why don't you have this document finished yet? Well, that's not the way it's being asked. And the reason it's fun. The reason it's being worded the way it's being worded is because she has something that she has to do that requires her having that document. And if I have the document, she'll go ahead and do that. But if I don't have the document, she'll just do something else.
The biggest thing would always be, we would have a cutoff on our sales, okay, in terms of when they would deposit. So I would always have to know, did you run the sales before 6:30? Because if you ran the sales before 6:30, I'm going to get a deposit the very next day. I may then feel more comfortable writing a $10,000 check, knowing tomorrow I have $8,000 more in the account, if that makes sense. Well, I would have to ask that question often. And I think John just thought that I felt like he just was a failure because he didn't run the sales or something. And then thankfully, this counselor was so incredibly helpful. I mean, it was like life altering.
I just think a lot of people live in that arena too. I mean, they just think,
oh my gosh, all day.
They just think that any message is an acknowledgement of their inadequacy. Any message is designed to be passive aggressive. Any message is something that's meant to call out. No, this is relationships. This is husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, brother, sister, best friends, mother, father.
I'll never forget someone saying, well, you never put emojis on your message.
Yes, that was something that someone actually struggled with is, they called Debbie out for not using emojis or enough exclamation points. And it's like, holy crap.
It was real.
It was real. It really affected them. And it was like, Debbie's 50. Like that's not the age that necessarily is going to be like LOL, hashtag smiley face. Thanks for playing HE double. I don't know.
Right.
It's like, what do we, it's like I even, until recently struggled. Like I would put the colon, whatever, comma, into the, and it's like, you put these things and then all of a sudden people are like, why don't you actually use the emoji instead of that? It's like, I'm even behind the times on that. Like, okay, I can just press the button.
I'm the same
so,
They're just projecting
the best thing you can do as a person is receive data and try not to have a lens on it, or at the very least assume positive intent until you're proved that you shouldn't. And then at that stage, protect yourself. But just take data in, be attentive. The Bible says take every thought captive. If you're taking your own thoughts captive and you're taking captive the thoughts that are occurring around you, then you're actually able to discern what you should do in a situation versus going into it completely guarded. And then the flip side of it, just walking right into anything unprotected as well. You have to keep God guarding your heart. You have to keep yourself guarding your mind, every thought that can come in there, and just say, what's the next step? But I'm telling you, every issue that we have had with anybody in the last decade has revolved around them having an insecurity and having a misrepresentation of the data we were transmitting. I mean, every single one of them. I cannot think of a single situation I was in with someone where it wasn't an assumption of negativity, but once people stew in that, there's no going back. You can come and say, look, that wasn't like this. That wasn't like this. But perception becomes the perceiver's reality. And so when you go and you try to break that stigma, you're actually trying to alter what they have accepted as reality. And honestly, the only person that can do that for them is God.
At the end of the day, if God is your vindicator, if he is your provider, if he is your moral compass, if he is your leader, I mean, if all these things are the case, then I guess it's like, to me, I feel like if I can walk through life seeing the best in every single person, even the ones that have stabbed me in the back, literally stabbed me in the back, but I just look at them and I completely see their insecurity. Like I 100% walk right past them with a smile on my face. And I'm actually praying for them as I'm walking towards them because I'm so certain of their weakness. And that's why they're doing what they're doing. That's why they talk so bad about me all the time. I'm not trying to say I'm perfect. I'm not perfect at all. But I will tell you what, I really have people's best interests at heart. And some of the weird gossipy things that have been said about me, it is not how I act on a daily basis. So they should have never been said. But it is where people's weaknesses are. They don't feel good enough. They don't feel like they work hard enough. Deep down, they probably know that maybe they don't work hard enough, or maybe they haven't been kind enough. Maybe they haven't gone the extra mile. Whatever. They've got their reasons why they're gossiping about you. Someone has their reasons why they're yelling at you. With men, what I've found, the more sad they are, okay, the more mad they get because they're chasing after not seeing anyone seeing that they're sad. And so they just are more comfortable being mad and retreating. But at the end of the day, if I'm walking around with a smile on my face around all my enemies, okay, all my people that have disrespected me behind my back, who's actually being affected by this? It's them. It's like heaping hot coals on them. Like nothing we do can affect her. But if you're direct, if you're good at communicating, and you're just willing to just speak in candor and just say, in the middle of a meeting, I'll just say, are you okay? Is everything okay? Are you guys okay? Because I don't feel like you are. We were in the middle of a photo shoot one time, and there were two people in the photo shoot that were just full of frowns, and they were just not having a good time. And I just said, are you guys okay? I'm like, because we got a whole team here, and we're doing something really great here. And you seem like this is a really bad situation for you. So is there any way we could flip this thing? Because this is all for the good of this place. And they turned it around a little bit, but I speak in candor. I just say like, hey, let's try to make this better. Let's work on making this better. But the worst thing I can do is the people that gossip around, about me, which is every single day, and I have to be around them every single day. The worst thing I could do is be like, I think they're doing it right now. I think that they think
that
this.
Is so bad.
I think that they think this about me.
You see somebody talking and potentially their voice is even low because they might be talking about something they don't want a lot of people to know about, but you immediately assume it's about you.
Right.
Because of negativity in the past.
And as a police officer, John was trained to create worst case scenarios in situations. That's his job. His job is to assess, 10 possibilities of what could happen. And they're not all going to be good ones because they're criminals that he's working with, right? So John's mentality, like he could write motion picture, like award-winning scripts with some of the things that he has come up with that people could possibly be thinking or people could possibly be doing. And in so many cases, I've just kind of looked at him and been like, let's just assume the best, but be prepared in the spirit for the worst, which means we stay in our Bible, we stay in prayer together, we stay strong in the Lord together, and then when the best doesn't come and the worst tries to knock us at our knees, it won't get us because we're standing firm on a foundation that cannot be shaken.
Well, you said that about not letting yourself be bothered and the people seeing that. And there's that old adage that, looping on something or like seething on something about somebody, or I would say this or I would do that, is like drinking poison and hoping that it poisons them. you are the one swallowing the poison. You are the one being affected. You are the one getting sick from it. You are the one losing sleep over it. And you know what's wild? That person may never even know. Or if they do, they are actually doing what Debbie said, and they're unfazed by it. Right. So there are so many situations I find where people fight these, we talk about being willing to fight a battle, especially an uphill battle, not being afraid of it. But so many people are fighting the wrong battles. They're distractions. And so you're hung up on something because you're actually missing the real fight. You're hung up on something and looping on something because you're missing the real mission. You're missing the real call. You're missing your opportunity because you're just stuck on something you can't do. Like, have you guys ever had a road rage incident where someone cuts you off or does something, you're so mad, and you work through all the things you're going to tell them and all the things you're going to say, and I would punch that guy in his face, and then I would do like a ninja karate kick and push him through. You're not going to do any of that. You're not going to probably see that person ever again. You're certainly not going to follow them. I mean, I hope all these things are true. People are crazy. But you get my point. What are you wasting your energy on? Now you're mad. Now you're freaking out and potentially ruining the rest of your day. Maybe you're yelling at your spouse. You get irritated at your kids. What are you doing? That person might not even know that they did it, and you're losing your day because of it. Quit giving your time and your life to somebody else because they don't deserve it.
Losing your day, losing your peace, losing your health, losing your relationship. You're losing. You're just losing because of the stories that you're creating in your mind that are just false. It's a false narrative. Get the real truth. Speak candidly to people. Ask them questions. Get the real truth. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems with a 6-month nutrition program with myself or a free personal fitness assessment, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. So happy to still be with you as we go into the last segment here. We've been just talking about battles and misinterpretation and looping and putting yourself in a position where you don't even really get to enjoy life. And I feel like a lot of our world is walking around like that right now. I try to listen to people. I try not to complain much, although I will say, admittedly, here recently with one situation we have going on, I've been letting myself seethe on that a little bit, so I need to take my own advice and pull out of that. I am giving it to God, but I'm also human. And so I listen, I just like someone I'm sure listens to me, and like everybody's tired, guys. Like I don't know anybody that says I'm tired to someone else, and that person's like, well, I've been sleeping fantastic like a baby, and I feel amazing. Everybody hurts. Our joints hurt, our backs hurt, our knees hurt. Everybody's mind is foggy. Everybody's anxious or down, or upset with somebody, or have something going on. Like our world it's tough, and everybody has stuff, but the Bible is clear that there's power in the tongue, and you have to be careful how much you speak about this stuff. You have to be careful putting yourself in a position where you're actually speaking things into being worse than they are. And so if you think about that, the Bible's verse actually says there's the power of life and death. And what that means to me is you can actually create positivity or negativity in what you're doing. If you're talking negative about a dream or a situation, you're probably going to kill it. If you're talking negative about pulling through on something or defeating something, you're probably going to lose. There's that quote that says, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. Well, that's because he who says he can't, or she, is actually already setting themselves up not to give 100% towards trying. And so you're right. You probably are going to lose. But what if you don't say it? What if you put yourself in a position where what you actually say is, you know what, I can do this. You know what, I didn't sleep much last night, but instead of talking about how tired I am, I'm going to talk about how great it is to actually be awake right now. You know, instead of talking about like, okay, well, I have this situation going on. I don't know if I can take this on. Why don't you talk about how you've been here before? You know, Debbie walks me through that sometimes again, admittedly, where I'll be like, man, I don't know if I've got this. We got so much going on. And she'll be like, you've already done this before. It's not even like you've overcome all these great things, John. Look at all you've done in your life. It's like, no, you've literally done the thing you're talking about. Sometimes it's good to have a reminder. Like if you really care about someone, check them on some of this. Don't just be a bouncing board to let someone complain. Yes, it's okay to vent. Yes, it's okay to get stuff out. But sometimes you got to remind your friends, you got to remind your family, like you're actually capable of taking this on. This isn't even the hardest thing you've ever dealt with.
You know, I've personally, I think I've lost friendships because of it. I think I've genuinely lost friendships because I don't want to sit around and talk about my problems all the time.
Right.
I'm not open. I'm not an open person. I don't, there's no connection, but I mean, because then when people actually find out, what do you mean you've had a health struggle for the past 8 months? Why aren't you saying anything? Because I have to get up and go to work either way.
Right.
I came to the radio show every week. I mean, 1 week I almost passed out, but we made it through. We didn't stop, right?
Right.
John took over. But like, I have to live my life either way. If there's a financial, I don't walk around talking about I'm about to sell the car. You know, I just sell the car. I take the money out of the account and I get it figured out. You know, if there's something going on in my life that's absolutely terrible, I don't want to loop on it. I don't want to talk about it over and over and over again. And I personally struggled to really even talk about it. I'll talk to my husband about it, but I'd like to get with people that, you know, we could talk about some other things. And so if you're connected with people that's all they do is talk about how bad their life is, talk about how bad their health is, talk about how bad their finances are, how bad their relationship is going. I don't know. I don't know if you build from that. I'm not saying you have to fake it. I'm not saying you don't admit it. If you got those warriors in your life that you can trust. But one thing I would say is my one dearest friend, if I go to her with something, she's not like, oh man, that sucks so bad for you. She's just like, she just postures up and she's just like, fight harder. You know, I mean, she doesn't even like give me a take. And what's cool is I really don't have to tell her that much because she's not expecting anything from me. She doesn't need to know all the bad stuff and she doesn't get her feelings hurt because I didn't tell her all the bad stuff. But if it's a really bad situation and I need someone that I have to talk to other than my husband, and I really need to, I can go to her and she gives me the word. She says, Bible says this. So that's what we need to do. And then we don't loop on it. We don't just keep talking about it. We talk about other things. You know, we talk about helping people. We talk about changing lives, you know. So if you're in a situation where that's where you're spending all your time around, I don't know if you're going to progress that way. If you're all just sitting around talking about how bad your life is, or you're gossiping about other people and their life, and you're jumping in on that, I don't know if you want to be part of that. I don't know if you're going to have any growth from that.
No, I mean, the problem is if you surround yourself, the Bible calls you to surround yourself with like-minded individuals. And if you surround yourself with like-minded individuals, when you're in negative energy, you're going to stay there. If you're trying to be positive and they're all negative, you're going to stay there. It is really hard for one person to pull four up. It's really easy for four to pull one down. And that's something that Sophie has even noticed lately is she has talked about how, you know, she gets herself around certain friends and she actually feels herself diminish. She feels herself become someone she don't want to be. And she's like, I'm not trying to fit in. It's just, that's what we do. You know, like that's the way they talk. That's the thing they do. And so it's like, that might not be the people she should spend all of her time around. And she's recognized that. I mean, what's that quote? Show me your 3 best friends and I'll show you your future.
Right.
I mean, if you're constantly met with negativity and naysaying, you can't actually grow from that.
Or gossiping.
We deal with that. Yeah. I mean, another thing is if someone's gossiping regularly to you about people, they're gossiping to other people about you, just so you know. Like if you are regularly being told a bunch of things about a bunch of people, they are going to someone else and letting them know how they feel about you as well.
I had to realize that about multiple people growing through my life.
I guarantee
like,
that.
Like, why did I think they were not doing the same thing about me? Like, what was wrong with me?
Wouldn't say that to me because they're telling me about everybody else.
They talked
they're
about
telling everybody else, and you're included in
that. I'm like, why did I think I wasn't included?
The only person they're not talking about in that moment is who they're talking to.
Right.
You know, outside of that, it's just a revolving door, you know. So, you know, we deal with it in food too, with nutrition, with what we do for a living. It's like people will go somewhere, party, family thing, some kind of function. They'll be trying to be better. They'll be trying to be well. And people are like, what are you doing? Like, what do you mean you can't eat? Like, it's just 2 slices of pizza. Like, what do you mean you can't have a drink? What do you mean? And it's like, here's somebody who's actually trying to better their life, like, or sometimes even has a legitimate health concern. And the people that are spending their time around them are just being negative to them about what they're trying to do. And it's like, that's not probably going to be the best option for you. So if you're sitting there listening, and like we talked about this whole time, and you're looking at something that's daunting, that you're really attempting to overcome, and you're thinking like, I just don't think I've got this, you need to change that. And you need to recognize that a warrior's mentality is that you'll keep hammering against it until it's complete. If you're finding yourself in a circle that's not trying to go to war with you, and instead they're kind of going to war at you, change your circle. And if you find yourself constantly in a position where you feel like everybody's conversations with you are negative and you're projecting and constantly lashing out at people, change your lens. And sometimes it doesn't even mean being positive. Sometimes it means when you read that message or you have that conversation, is it just data transmission? And put yourself in a position where you actually have a higher opportunity to achieve success because you're not starting the fight already defeated.
Amen. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems with a 6-month nutrition program with myself, a free personal fitness assessment with our personal trainers, or my one-on-one monthly subscription program where you get 2 live calls with me, and it is an amazing community to help you with your health and wellness. Take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com. Thank you for listening, and God bless.